Hello everybody, welcome back to OMB Reviews. So I just got out of seeing Father Stu, brand new film starring Mel Gibson and Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg being in the titular role of Father Stu. And let me just say, I really enjoyed this movie for a lot of reasons. Obviously, it is the story of, in a lot of ways, redemption. It's the story of, I think, almost like a modern, in a way, story of a St. Augustine or one of the many saints throughout history who began in a very sinful life and were able to find ways to change, and sometimes through some of the most interesting ways and interesting reasons. And let me just say, first off, as far as the film itself is concerned, it's solid. It really is. And I think that, with my initial comments aside, I don't think you have to be a Catholic or a person of faith to be able to appreciate and to enjoy this movie. I think that there is just so much to the actual story itself. There's so much to the performances given. Mark Wahlberg giving probably one of the best performances of his career. There's this great scene where he's asking God why he's going through the things that he's going through, and it was just an incredibly moving scene. And kudos to Wahlberg for really being able to pull out that performance and give such an authentic performance there, and really show true authentic emotion during a time like that, with all the things that his character is going throughout the film. Mel Gibson, of course, is solid in his supporting role as Father Stu's dad. Really interesting and awesome character arcs with him in the story. And that was the other thing I really liked, was that there were various character arcs throughout it, and I thought that for the most part they were pretty solid. One thing I would kind of like to have seen a bit more of is I would have liked to have seen, I guess, a bit of a more clean transition of just how Father Stu is being impacted over time. There are times where it kind of jumps ahead a bit in time, and I know that they did that for probably the sake of time, but also because they recognized that they didn't have to go through every single detail and every single slight change and modulation in his condition, and instead decided to go to different milestones. But I think that when they started to do that, it definitely started to feel as if we were missing parts of, I guess, the movement of some of the other supporting characters, like his dad and like his mom. So if I had to have any critique, I think it would be of that. But with that being said, I think it's such a small critique in the long run, because what you're left with the film is a solid film with a solid story, a beautiful story, one that is a lot more modern. The credits actually end with a video interview of the real Father Stu, and it's just kind of amazing how this story has been around and hasn't really been picked up. And it really took Mark Wahlberg, who kind of went through something similar in certain respects, in certain ways. And so I think that this is a film that's probably very personal for him. Mel Gibson too. I mean, even though his character doesn't go through quite the same type of transformation, or we don't get as much focus on his character's transformation, one could definitely see parallels to both of their lives in how they grew up, how they both went through different changes throughout time, and how both of them found ultimately faith in Christ as a way for them to be able to really defeat the inner demons that they were fighting and that they were battling, and to find a sense of redemption there. And so I thought that it was really cool to see those characters and those actors as those characters, most especially interacting with each other. Those were some of my favorite moments. The chemistry between them is just fantastic, and really all of the actors, all of the supporting cast in this film is great. The actress that played Carmen, who plays the love interest for the very initial part of the film, is really solid, gives great performances, and her character arc was probably one of my next favorites of it. And one of the interesting things about the character arc of even Father Stu is, as he is going through this process of becoming baptized for the girl initially, and then through that process finding faith, you can kind of see Carmen working him in that way to try and bring him into the faith, while at the same time falling in love with him. You can then also see how her love of him is able to kind of almost bring her faith down to a more earthly level, which is a bad thing, whereas his faith is bringing them up to a more spiritual level, and how they kind of meet in this middle ground where they fall into they fall into sin. And so how they're both able to react to that in a different way. And I don't know, I just think that I don't want to go into too much detail with their development or with their story, but I do think that it was probably one of my favorite developments in the entirety of the film, was just their relationship and how it built up over time, and just the performances by everyone involved. So cinematography as well, very good. Using handheld shots, so unlike an Ambulance, which was exclusively handheld shaky cam shots with maybe some aerial shots using drone footage and stuff like that, this film had a lot of handheld shots, but it was the right kind. It was, I would argue, a lot different than, for instance, the handheld shots that were found in the film Pig with Nicolas Cage, which I thought were a bit too shaky cam, and I think that kind of just abused the shaky cam just a bit for a film that did not really need it. Whereas with this one, it was, again, handheld camera work, but instead of it being shaky cam, it was the typical like natural motions, natural movements, and it made the film feel, you know, that much more authentic and that much easier to be able to watch. And so if I had to give this film a grade, I'd probably end up giving the film an A minus, because I really just do honestly think it's solid. You know, despite some of the issues that I might have with some of the character arcs and stories that could have been just a little bit tighter, a little bit cleaner, film is not too long, and I would recommend it to anyone, again, of faith, not of faith. Give it a shot. One of the key messages that this film really gets across is, one, that redemption is possible for anyone, you know, in faith and life. And I think most importantly of all, that when it comes to our ability to sometimes fall into the trap of viewing suffering and viewing negative things that happen to us in a purely negative light, that instead maybe what we really need is to try and figure out and understand how the suffering that we go through, whatever it might be in our life, can bring us closer to those that we love, and obviously ultimately to God as well. And I think there's a really beautiful message here about the kind of, you know, again, it's a contradiction, but then again, Christ on the cross is a contradiction as well, but the beauty in suffering. And if you want to find out more about that, or if that's something that intrigues you, you're like, wait a minute, I don't quite buy that or understand that, I'd recommend watching the film. Give it a shot. What you got to lose? But as I said, it's not a preachy film in my opinion, because there is a lot of language. The one warning I will give for sure is that there is a lot of language in the film. Even as Father Stu is in the process of going through seminary and things like that, the language persists. But I do think that, you know how very much against excessive language and things like that. But I think in this case, it actually really goes to show in, again, that character development of, again, the excessive becoming less and less and less over time, and then ultimately it leading just to, hey, it's a part of who he is as a person. However, he also recognizes why he should not continue on in that way. But again, A-, solid film. We definitely recommend it to anyone who wants to go see a really just good, solid film. And if you are wanting a break from the superhero genre, from the comic book genre, from the big budget genre stuff, go and support this film. I think that it definitely deserves your love and support, and especially during the Easter season. Unfortunately, it is a rated R film. Unfortunately, there is a lot of language, so it's definitely not a family movie. But it was a film the entire time where I was thinking to myself, man, I would love to be able to show this in my classroom, and if only the language wasn't as bad as it was. But again, I do think that it's one of those rare circumstances where the language actually does serve a purpose, because it doesn't really go into any other directions that it really could have gone. For instance, it doesn't delve into the sexuality of someone living a sinful life that it could have gone into. Instead, it just focuses, again, on that language, and I think it does it for a right purpose. So again, kudos to Mark Wahlberg, Mel Gibson, and everyone involved with the project. Again, well directed, very, very solid film. What are y'all thoughts? Have you seen Father Stu? Do you have any interest in seeing Father Stu? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, smash that like button, love that fire button. Honestly, y'all are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening, and as always, God bless.
And now for a huge shout out to all of my April Patreon, Subscribestar, and Locals members. Starting off with Patreon with animation commentator Brandon, let's go Brandon, Brian P., Christopher Bowman, Father Christopher Miller, Hail to you Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Harold Francis, Hymir Ari Hymeson, Inflamed Wood, Jacob from Holland, Jeff Toon, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Gomer Kyle 79, Laura, the Modern Major General Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mondo Spieler, Mr. Peabody, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Priscilla Hall, Rosella Allen, Stan Andrian, Miss Martin Muses, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B., the Empress of the Universe. Thank you very much for supporting me over on Patreon. And also to my Subscribestar peeps, Matt317, Storm Tracker, The R, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, Stand 4, John B., Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alice McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss, J-Rod the Beer Guru, and ZK-Man. And also a huge shout out to my Locals members, starting off with Kara Tharp, K Tharp 56. Also, UAB, Mad Dog, Mike Jackson, Robert Barnes, and also a huge support as well to Brett D90. Thank you very much for supporting me over on Locals. Thank you again to everyone for supporting the channel. Please, if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, go ahead and check out the top link at the video description. It is my Willow link, as I like to describe it, and it brings you to a link tree where you get access to all of these different locations, as well as all of the various social media platforms that you can follow me on. If you join at the Citizen of Asgard level, you get your name shouted out at the end of every single live stream and video. Army of Asgard level gets you that, plus you get access to a giveaways channel that I have on Discord. If you ever don't have access to that giveaways channel, please contact me. I do send out the link to the Discord and with the instructions on it at the beginning of every single month. But if you don't have access to that giveaways channel where I'm giving away 4Ks and Blu-rays and all that kind of stuff, as much as I possibly can give away is available there. Please just reach out to me and I will gladly walk you through the process to make sure you get access to that giveaways channel. And again, that is, Army of Asgard level, whether you be on Patreon, Subscribestar, or on Locals. Also, if you are the Keeper of the Bifrost level, you get access to all of that. Plus, you get access to a podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. We try and do it once or twice a month. I think we're going to try and do it twice this month to make up for some miscommunication that we had last month. So be on the lookout for that, and look out for those podcast Q&A posts that are always available on the Patreon main page, the Subscribestar main page, on the YouTube side of things as well. The YouTube community tab, you'll always find the podcast Q&A there, and also on the Locals page as well. And if you join at the Chosen of Valhalla level, the highest of the levels, you get access to all of that. Plus, if it's your first month, you get a free t-shirt, any t-shirt you want from my Teespring, my TeePublic, whichever one you want to get it from. You just let me know the size, location I'm sending it to, color, that kind of stuff. You get it sent to you. Plus, you get to be featured once a month on the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where we all come together and just talk about movies and really anything the Chosen want to talk about, and it is a lot of fun. Anyway, thank you all very much for your love and for your support. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.